Good evening and welcome back to Sctv, Simpson College's first student-run weekly newscast. I'm Jake Brendan. It's great to be with you.
And I'm Sophie Reese.
Simpson has made a change to the first-year curriculum that went into effect at the beginning of this school year.
What was once known as SC 101 is now Foundation, and it's been moved from a semester long to a full year.
The new format has brought a lot of opinions from students, faculty, and professors. Ethan Humble has the reactions from the students.
I would say probably just keep it to one semester.
It's just kind of pointless to me if I'm not interested in it.
Definitely not my favorite thing.
There's one thing all these first years have in common: their distaste for the new year-long Foundations class. Formerly called SC 101, Foundation sections are now 2 semesters long instead of the previous 1.
The reason for wanting Foundations to be year-long is largely because research has shown that year-long programs are preferable, are more effective at helping students become acclimated to college, to being successful in college.
The curriculum designates the fall semester to civic engagement and the spring semester to diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Foundations 1 is essentially half academic content, half what are the skills and knowledge you need to be a successful college student. Foundations 2 is roughly 75% academic content and 25% continuing to help students adjust.
But this extended curriculum leaves many of the first years wanting more from their Foundations experience.
Foundations was like my first college class, and it was like the experience of what it's like to be in a classroom. And so far, if it was just a one semester class, I feel like I would have enjoyed it and I probably would have gotten something from it. But now going into my second semester, I kind of feel as if it's a bit pointless.
I think when we read the book Biased, it was that was very important, and it kind of highlighted the diversity aspect. But after the Biased book, it's been kind of not pushed aside, but hidden almost, as some of the professors don't really know how to integrate it besides the Biased book.
I feel a little bit like I'm getting, not necessarily behind in my major, but I feel that I learned a lot of the concepts and things that were intended to be taught in Foundations 1, and by having Foundations 2, it's kind of just going over the same things.
Though the changes will be more integrated into a new general education, also known as ECC structure, starting in fall 2022. Thus, the one-year Foundations program is here to stay in the coming years.
All the students that start next year will take Foundations and the new Simpson Core, which is a new general education program. So the Foundations courses were designed in conjunction with that. Most general education programs last about 10 years. That's about what the ECC has been.
Another group heavily impacted by the changes are SC leaders, students who guide and mentor the first years.
We recruited SCLs to have one student for every 2 sections of Foundations 1, which gives this SC leader, 35 to 40 students.
It has been a lot. I've kind of reached the point where I don't really care. My students don't respect my time, and I'm tired of trying to make things work with them.
It's really hard to wrangle all the kids together in order to get them to respond to my emails, to group me messages, to essentially anything.
In terms of SC leading in the future, both Weil and Kruger agree the workload needs to be reduced.
I remember my first year, obviously I had SC 101 as I'm a sophomore. We were basically launched in spring semester. I had my own support mechanisms. I attached myself to my own friend groups, and I think that was the process for most people.
I think I would have been a lot better not doing the full year, because last semester I actually really enjoyed being an SC leader, and this I feel like I'm just trying to I'm dragging a dead horse.
But not all feedback has been negative. Foundations professor Spencer Waugh says he's had a pleasant experience teaching his section up to this point.
Our class has been tackling those issues head on. We did spend the first week of the course establishing an environment where everyone would feel safe talking.
The professor said nothing trains you for these discussions like actually having them.
I am not sure there is a way to properly equip anybody well to tackle this for the first time. However, you learn so much by doing it the first time that for me, it's been a really, really positive experience.
However, Waugh admits his experience isn't representative of all Foundation's professors.
And I think that any time you teach a course for the first time, regardless of what kind of subject matter that you're tackling, it's going to be difficult. And so I've talked to other faculty members who are I wouldn't say struggling with the content, but just boy, we're tackling some tough issues here.
The program tries to tackle tough issues. It's still a work in progress.
The fact that we are redoing it isn't really a surprise. That's typical of most institutions as we try to stay current with the times. And what do we think is most important for college student success, both in college and after they graduate from college?
For Sctv, Ethan Humble.
Last Friday, the Campus Activity Board hosted a COVID-friendly headphone disco.
The disco allowed students to choose between 2 DJs each playing a different style of music using their specialized headphones.
The event topped out at about 230 students, despite being put together short notice.
Our own Ethan Humble and Caleb Gear were 2 of the first dancers at the disco, and both report the event as a success.
Last week, Heidi Ekborg-Ott was selected by the World Food Prize Foundations for the George Washington Carver Scholarship.
Max Bertrands talked with Heidi to discuss the honor.
Heidi Ekborg-Ott is the recipient of the George Washington Carver Scholarship. Let's talk to Heidi to learn more about her new position.
I had been applying for like 4 months and to finally get like an internship that I actually really wanted, and an international non-for-profit that deals with like hunger. I was like, whoa, I finally got something I really want to work for, and I knew it was going to be a great experience. And I definitely was pretty like nerve-wracked when I went to the interview. I was like, oh my gosh, am I going to get this? And there were 4 people interviewing me at the same time, which was a lot because I had like so many questions coming in. But it actually ended up being really fun. Everyone was super nice. So we've been doing a huge amount of research on like climate change. I've been reading scholarly articles. I've been watching YouTube videos. I've been looking into just like probably 50 different like subsections of like how climate change can be like broken down into different things. I've been learning a lot about agriculture because that's like a big thing that like it's the World Food Prize. So agriculture is like a number 1.
And this will be the 4th year that Heidi has done research in the program, and then they offer it for the research symposium. So I've seen a lot of work from Heidi throughout the years, and she's done a lot of great research around Dr. Carver and other issues of leadership. She is an excellent student, and I'm not surprised that she got selected for this Carver internship in Des Moines, that she'll be working with them.
Last year, there was no regular season crown in the ARC for the women's basketball team. So despite an undefeated 2021 season, they weren't recognized as champions.
Everything has returned to normal this season, so the Storm will be able to compete for the regular season and postseason conference championship trophies.
They already got one, but it's on to the next one. Jake has the story.
For the 2nd season in a row, the women's basketball team finished conference play undefeated in the regular season. But this year, they got a trophy for it.
It's been really exciting that we've gotten this far the last 2 years especially, but all the hard work and time we've put in the summer has really paid off.
Well, it takes a lot of pressure off of us.
Coming off of a conference title in 2021, Simpson responded with a 23-1 record overall, having them ranked 5th nationally and the number 1 seed in the ARC tournament.
There definitely is a target on our back being undefeated this season, and with winning last season, I'd say that there's a little bit of added pressure, but nothing that we can't handle.
Once you've won, there's pressure to win more, but the Storm are just looking at what's in front of them.
We just don't try to focus on that. We focus on what we can control, focus on what we've been working on.
This whole season has kind of just been do our thing and focus on us, and if we do what we need to do, that usually takes care of on the court stuff.
Every matchup in the tournament will be the 3rd of the season between teams.
They've seen us twice and have had a chance now to make some adjustments, and we're going to have to make adjustments to their adjustments, but we've got a smart group and a group that I think is very competitive.
Of Simpson's top 7 lineup in minutes, 5 of them are seniors, making them the most experienced team in the conference.
It just makes my job easier because I can tell them something once, they get it, they can make the adjustment. Sometimes I can even tell them when they're out on the floor and they understand what I'm talking about.
Last year, players were given just 2 tickets per person and only 50 students were allowed in the student section. This year, Coles is back to full capacity for the championship.
Our game at Dubuque actually was a really fun atmosphere, so I'm excited for the conference tournament play. I bet it's going to be really fun to play in.
The fans bring so much energy to the gym, and we feed off of that. And, the student body has been great as far as getting to our games and supporting us. And I hope they do that throughout the tournament.
If we get that environment again, I think that would be cool for us and cool for the people that are here watching us.
The team shares one common goal.
We're all just trying to achieve the same goal, which is winning the conference championship again.
Simpson plays the winner of Luther and Dubuque on Thursday night in the semifinal. For Sctv,
Roll Storm, baby.
Jake Brent.
The handshake line in basketball games has been a hot topic of discussion this year, starting in November when a player from Carlisle punched a Nevada player after walking through the postgame line. The topic was discussed a lot locally about if the handshake line should remain, but the discussion fizzled out and was brought back up on Sunday when Michigan head coach Juwan Howard exchanged words with Wisconsin coach Greg Gard, leading to an altercation between the teams.
Oh, see, and they're going at it. Oh, yeah. Howard and Gard are not happy right now as the two of them continue to have words. We told you Juwan Howard was not happy about that timeout. And Juwan Howard just threw a right hand. And now we got a scrum.
First, this is an inexcusable act for Howard. As a leader of a program, this is a horrible example and a terrible look. Not that it's okay for anyone to hit anyone else in a game or after, but it's especially embarrassing when a head coach does it. Now, this has sparked conversation a lot about the handshakes line place in a basketball game. I think it's rightfully being questioned, but it should absolutely stay. The history and tradition for it is a reason for it to stay, and 99% of the time, there's no problems with it, which I think uncovers the real issue with it. It's not about the handshake line itself, it's about the people in it. If players and coaches can't handle shaking their opponent's hands after a win or loss, that problem is on them. If Juwan Howard can't go through the line without jawing to Greg Gard, should he be in charge of a program? Basketball is a physical sport. There's hard fouls, there's bad blood. They're on the court for 40 minutes with each other, but it should stay on the court. If someone can't handle the competitive spirit, but also a mutual respect off the court, they should not be allowed on the court, period. I'm Jake Brend, and that's my take. And now let's check out some scores from the past week from campus. Women's basketball team still has not lost to Central since 2003, 109-64 over in Pella, while the men's team dropped their final game of the season, 89-73. The tennis team, we traveled to Mount Vernon to take on Cornell and dropped a nail-biter, 5-4. It's going to be a big week coming up for sports. And that's going to be all for us this week on Sctv.
As always, we would like to thank Professor Siebert, Professor Carpinelli, and Professor Steffen for all of the work that goes behind the scenes to make this newscast possible.
We'll be back next week, but until then, you stay classy, Simpson.